Vice Chair, inform them to respond in 2 weeks. Martha Wangari, member for Gilgil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, even as I make this statement, indulge me to thank you and the House on your moment of silence on the Utumishi Academy that you did, and the visits that we got from some members who are here and who are not in the House, but they came. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 43, I rise to make a general statement regarding the fire tragedy that occurred at Utumishi Girls Senior School in Gilgil constituency. Honorable Speaker, on the night of Thursday, 28th May 2026, 16 innocent young lives were lost following a tragic fire incident that occurred at Utumishi Girls Senior School, while 79 learners sustained injuries and are admitted in different hospitals in the country. Mr. Speaker, this unfortunate incident has left scores of students, parents, guardians, teaching staff, support staff, and members of the wider community traumatized. To many, life will never be the same again. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, our country has experienced a similar tragic incident in learning institutions over the years, each leaving behind grief, disruption, and repeated pleas for reform. Various commissions of inquiry, task forces, and investigative bodies have previously made recommendations aimed at strengthening safety and preventing recurrence of such incidents. However, the implementation of these recommendations has remained inconsistent. The Utumishi Girls Senior School has now joined the statistics of another tragedy caused by failure to implement previous reports of safety for our children in schools. Honorable Speaker, I wish to acknowledge and commend the Government of Kenya through the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Interior and National Administration, Ministry of Defense, National Police Service, the DCI, the Red Cross team, the medical personnel, the county health services, the emergency responders, the councillors, school leadership, and all stakeholders who have been involved in rescue operations, the medical intervention, psychosocial support, and ongoing coordination following this tragedy. Honorable Speaker, as we reflect on this painful tragedy, we must also acknowledge a difficult reality that the responsibility of raising, guiding, and protecting our children cannot rest solely on our schools or on government. The molding of a child begins at home, it is reinforced in school, and is strengthened by the wider community. These events should compel the public to undertake a national reflection on whether every stakeholder is fully discharging their responsibility. Honorable Speaker, this tragic incident raises urgent and recurring national concerns requiring comprehensive attention, particularly in regard to 1, fire safety preparedness and compliance standards in boarding schools across the country. Number 2, the effectiveness of surveillance systems, including CCTV installation, monitoring and response protocols in learning institutions. Number 3, the adequacy and timeliness of emergency response mechanisms during such incidents. Number 4, the roles and responsibility of school administrators and relevant government agencies in safeguarding learners. Number 5, the psychosocial support system for learners, parents, teachers, and other stakeholders exposed to trauma. And finally, the broader issue of discipline and lack thereof in our institutions. Honorable Speaker, I urge the Ministry of Education through the committee of this House to strengthen oversight by fully decentralizing and operationalizing safety, security, and welfare monitoring mechanisms at the constituency level. Every constituency should have a clearly defined framework, bringing together education officers, school administrations, boards of management, parents, representatives, security agencies, and local leadership to regularly review compliance with safety standards, learner welfare, and discipline management. Prevention must become a local responsibility before it becomes a national crisis. Honorable Speaker, it is also imperative that we empower our learners to be actively involved in the implementation of key recommendations by the relevant ministries and agencies with a specificity on their security. May this tragedy serve as a turning point in our national commitment to the safety, security, and well-being of every learner. I wish to honor and pay tribute to the 16 learners who perished in this tragedy. May their souls rest in eternal peace, and may their families find peace. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mother. As I give one or two of you to comment, I've been requested by the member for the area that there is serious ongoing homicide investigations. So those of you who want to make interventions, just steer clear of the possibility of prejudicing the ongoing investigations. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, once again, allow me to begin by conveying my very deep condolences to the families of the young girls who lost their lives in Gilgil, Utumishi Academy. Honorable Speaker, even this afternoon as we welcome the students in the Speaker's Gallery, Thika High School, Muguna Girls, Non Kupir from Kajiado East and St. Angela from Kirene and Muranga, to also take this opportunity to speak to these students and ask them to honor not just the schools where they are attending, but also their parents, their teachers, and their colleagues in the schools. Because, Honorable Speaker, as you have said, cognizant of the fact that there is an ongoing investigation into the tragedy at Utumishi Academy, we must also, as a nation, come together at this time. Not only to speak to ourselves as parents, but also to speak to our students as our children, and implore on them on the need to grow up as responsible citizens. And I say that, Honorable Speaker, because at least I have had time to engage with some of these students today. I have just met the students' president from Thika High, Terence Githuku, who is in the Speaker's Gallery, and two of his deputies. And I had occasion to visit Thika High together with yourself about a week or two ago, last Friday, but one actually. And today, Honorable Speaker, you have presented the contribution of members of parliament, including yourself, and a number of us, to support. And when I went through that list of the students being supported, I've seen some students with fees arrears of up to 120,000 shillings, who, out of the benevolence of members of parliament, they now have support to continue their education. And these are the sacrifices parents make, and we are making as leaders also to support many of these students. When we went to Thika High School, Honorable Speaker, there was a young man who is seated in the Speaker's Gallery today, Isaac Mwai, who went to the school that I went to, Kikuyu Township Primary School. That young man went to Kikuyu Township Primary School, and he reminded the president when he met him at the science exhibition, that when the president 3 years ago went to commission KCPE at Kikuyu Township Primary School, that young man was a student at Kikuyu Township Primary School. But out of sheer discipline, he's now found himself in Thika High School, a very good school, and together with Terence Githuku and the other students, they are leading a student's body. And I want to speak to these young ones and ask them, please maintain discipline in school as you do at home. Many of the cases you hear, especially in this second term, Honorable Speaker, is because students probably are fatigued and want to go home. If you want to go home, you do not need to burn down anything. Not a dormitory, not a classroom, not a school bus, nothing. Honorable Speaker, I heard the governor for Nakuru over the weekend pose the question, could these young ones be learning from us that whenever we want to protest, we must burn down buildings, we must burn down people's shops and people's cars? I saw the other week, people were protesting in Githurai and they had to burn down somebody's car. We must lead by example as leaders, and as parents, not just as leaders, as the people who are parents, anybody who is a parent or an aspiring parent. If we want to protest on anything as a country, let us not have fires everywhere, because these children could be copying from us or from the country. Therefore, I say that careful not to condemn anybody, Honorable Speaker, but to plead with a nation that we learn from our past mistakes. When the school in Ukambani, I think it was Changuli High School, when we lost 67 students in that school, there were measures that were taken, some of which I believe were already in place in this school. But that tells you we have a deeper problem than the physical things that we do. I don't know whether it will be enough to even put fire detectors and fire suppression systems in all these schools, but can we afford it as a country? Will parents be able to afford fire suppression systems in each and every dormitory in our schools, Honorable Speaker? Therefore, it calls for a deeper conversation. It is not enough, Honorable Speaker, today to just point fingers at each other. No, I heard somebody say that Parliament was praying when there was a fire in the school, Honorable Speaker. I know it's also reckless of anybody, whether you're in the media or you are a leader in whatever sphere, to claim that Parliament was praying at a time our children were burning in school, Honorable Speaker. The National Prayer Breakfast is something that rests in our calendar in Parliament. It is known, it is a set date. And we set that date last year. Nobody had planned for this fire, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, that person who was saying, and I don't to dignify them with naming them, because they don't need to be dignified from this floor, may I say shame on you that you can take advantage of such an unfortunate incident to just throw barbs at this house. Even prayers, Honorable Speaker, I want to say, prayers work. And we must pray for our children. We must pray for our children in schools, in our homes, and as much as we pray for our nation, Honorable Speaker. Let me say again, this is a time that we are being called to converse individually in our homes with our children, collectively in schools, even on the platforms, political platforms and other platforms that we get, in our churches, because, Honorable Speaker, again, many of our church leaders have become more politicians than politicians. And that's why I continue to honor the Muslim faith, because I never hear anybody in a mosque speaking politics. But for us as Christians, this must be our time for introspection, to ask ourselves, even as we point fingers at administrators in schools, as we point fingers at political leaders, those of us who are serving in the church, where are we failing in shepherding these young ones in the right manner, Honorable Speaker? Because there is a failure somewhere. And I say that without pointing fingers at anybody, saying that it is a time that we need to come together and have a conversation as Kenyans and as humankind, Honorable Speaker, because we have a problem. And it is not a small problem, Speaker. It is a big, big, big problem. If we do not address it now, we will have more major problems in the coming days. Because these things that we see, these small incidences, a fire in a school, deaths in schools, an accident here and there, a small demonstration that turns out to become a very violent thing and you end up losing lives. These are just manifestations of a bigger problem that we must address, Honorable Speaker. My condolences to the parents. I have seen the anguish and the pain of those parents, and I identify with the pain that they feel. That you sent your young girl to go to school to secure her future, and now you have no child out of the actions of somebody else, Honorable Speaker. It is indeed painful, and I must say we must be careful what we say about these incidences, because we must remember their parents who are grieving, they are siblings of those young ones. Yesterday, I just saw on Facebook, Honorable Speaker, a young man share the pain that he's going through after losing the sister, and sharing pictures of the time he spent with the sister, even as she went back to school this term. And that girl is no more, Honorable Speaker. It is indeed painful, and we must share in that grief and pain with those parents and the school, and also recognize that these young ones, Honorable Speaker, even those in Utumishi, are traumatized. Maybe they never imagined it would get to what it has gotten to, but it is what it is now.
Thank you.
It will affect them for a long time, and we must ask maybe the chair of the Education Committee to make sure they engage with the Ministry of Education to make sure that there is some level of counseling that is done to these students and those who neighbor that school. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The rest, let's take 2 minutes each. Robert Mbui. Give Robert Mbui. Is it on this, Robert, or something else? There's a mic next to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, you know, I've actually, in my previous life, been involved one time in handling a matter of arson in a school. And Mr. Speaker, what was surprising is that the children that were involved in that case of arson, majority of them had no idea why they were involved. And only one is actually the one who had the plan, because the intention was for the school to be closed so that they could go and restock their supply of drugs because they had run out. So sometimes there are very flimsy reasons that are used to cause these cases. And Mr. Speaker, arson is a crime. Unfortunately, when arson leads to people losing their lives, it ends up becoming murder, which is another crime. So the question we are now grappling with is how then do we try a crime that is actually at such a level as murder? Because yes, we know they are children, but then what about the ones who have lost their lives? So, Mr. Speaker, it's a very, very sensitive place we are in, and I want to agree with the Honorable Martha that maybe we don't get into too much into the details, but it is important that as we proceed, the government must come up with maybe a commission of inquiry. I remember a while back we had devil worshipping in schools, and there was a commission of inquiry that dealt with it. So maybe now we need to find out what is it that is making our children, just Kenyan children. Because, Mr. Speaker, this is not a global problem. This is a Kenyan problem. Actually, arson in schools is a Kenyan problem. Are we going to have to do away with boarding schools? Yet we know that their parents and their children who have no alternative but to have their children in boarding. So, Mr. Speaker, I sympathize with the lives of those ones that those families that their children lost their lives. But I think as a government, we must find a solution going forward. But, Mr. Speaker, finally, I want to say the last time we had such cases, the Ministry of Education came up with a raft of measures, which, Mr. Speaker, sometimes is just, it's like we are treating the symptoms instead of the problem. Mr. Speaker, when the ministry says, for example, that they are not going to allow beds that are wooden in schools, I don't think that's really part of that is a solution to the problem. Because if anything, if you look at some of the international schools, they have very beautiful furniture that is wooden. Now, if you say that the beds must be metallic, what about mattresses? Are you going to make the mattresses metallic? Are you going to make the curtains metallic? So we may need to find another solution, not to deal with those things on a half-baked measures. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Dorothy Kiara. There's a lot of interest, so take a minute each.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to join Honorable Mother Wangari, MP for Gilgil, in condoling with the families that have lost their loved ones. Honorable Speaker, the immeasurable pain, torture, and torment that these parents are going through, including their teachers, the classmates who are alive, it is immeasurable, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to say sincerely, I condole with those families and wish those that are in hospital quick recovery. Honorable Speaker, it is the high time that when we talk of commission of inquiries, Honorable Speaker, something that happened when Bombolulu School was burnt down, something that happened when Changuli School was also burnt down, these commission of inquiries give recommendations, Honorable Speaker, but at the end of the day, very few recommendations are implemented. It is the high time, Honorable Speaker, that we speak our mind, we search and know what is really healing our students in our schools, come out, Honorable Speaker, and come out with the recommendations that, Honorable Speaker, will cure this. Even if it means having our schools as day schools, so be it, Honorable Speaker. Life is more precious.
Otienda Molo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I condole with the families that have lost the little ones. And I think we must accept that we have all failed the children who perished. We failed them through the school. We failed them through the government. We failed them through policies. And even we as parliament, we are part of those who failed them. We must collectively apologize that we have failed those children. Mr. Speaker, this has become a trend. The idea of banning schools and school unrest is a trend that must be examined. As we examine ourselves and agree with the majority leader, we must examine the values that we are instilling in the children. We must examine the place of religion. Many of us, when we were growing up, raising a child was a collective responsibility. Now it has been left to the parent and the teacher. The teacher is disempowered because there's not much the teacher can do other than warn. Many of us parents, once we submit the child to school, we wash our hands. The child is left to the internet. Some of the things they are doing are things that clearly can only be brought from the internet. We must re-examine even the place of access to the internet for everyone. Mr. Speaker, I say only two things as I finish. One, I think it is time that as Parliament, we form an ad hoc committee to examine unrest in schools. It is not enough to leave it to the department anymore. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I think that we must also re-examine the circumstances that we're putting the schools to. If you look at the images of that school, and that's a high-end school, you see that the dormitory was highly congested. There were beds on the corridors, there were beds next to the door. This 100% transition without the proper infrastructure is part of the problem. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Meli. Okay, Meli, yield the floor. You'll speak later.
Yes? Let me comment last, yes.
Listen to others first. Yes, Mwalimu Taitumu.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. First of all, let me tender my condolences to the families that lost their young ones. Number two, Mr. Speaker, this is an exhibition of high levels of moral decadence in our society. Our moral social fabric, Honorable Speaker, is wanting. In relation to what happened in Utumishi Academy, Mr. Speaker, some principals live in ivory tower, such that there is no flow of information from teachers to the principal, particularly where we have the girls. The men who teach there, they cannot pass information to the principals because if they do, at times they are victimized, hence bringing a gap between the administrators and the teachers who should be manning those institutions. As it has been said by the majority leader, Mr. Speaker, it is said that monkeys see, monkeys do. What is happening in our society today?
Your time is up. Mama Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kutoa rambirambi zangu kwa shule ya Utumishi kwa watoto walioteketea na moto. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni jukumu letu sisi sote, na haswa nielezee wazazi, jukumu la kumwachia mwanafunzi kwa mwalimu ni jukumu ambalo ni lake yeye mzazi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, hii ni mambo ambayo yametokea, sio mara ya kwanza Mheshimiwa Spika. Ni wakati umefika mambo haya yaweze kuangaliwa, na mwalimu pia niweze kumwelezea kuwa ikiwa mwanafunzi unaona na uzito wakati wa mtihani, tusiwasukume sana. Na nielezee pia wanafunzi, na wengi wako hapa, kuanguka mtihani sio mwisho wa maisha. Pengine hii ndio inafanya mtoto anaona mtihani umetolewa tarehe 16 hadi tarehe 2 hapa anaamua kuchoma shule. Hawa ni criminals Mheshimiwa Spika, wanafaa kuwe ndani, na wazazi pia wa take responsibility. Tumepoteza watoto wengi sana Mheshimiwa Spika, akiwemo mtoto kutoka Mombasa. Kwa hiyo mimi na
Kangogo Boen.
Mr. Speaker, let me join my colleagues also to condole with the family of the 16 girls. Mr. Speaker, and to say as a parliament and as a country, Honorable Speaker, we need to reflect and relook again this issue of boarding schools. Mr. Speaker, if you check in the developed countries, there are very few or even no boarding schools. I think we need to relook about boarding schools as a country. Number two, Honorable Speaker, we need to come up as a country and also as a ministry, and the chairman of education, Meli, must listen to this, Honorable Speaker. We need to have a standardized and policy, especially on the domes across the country, Honorable Speaker. You will find that there's, what we saw from those domes, they were very congested. In a cube which is supposed to take 12 girls, they are more than 12.
Wangwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to join my colleagues to condole with the family of the 16 girls who lost their souls during the inferno. Honorable Speaker, whereas the fire was taking off in Utumishi, it also happened in my constituency. Two schools, Emulama Primary School and Igotse Boys High School, Honorable Speaker, together with Chabuisi High School. Honorable Speaker, this is a bad precedent that we are seeing. The issue we must look at is, can we call for a whole comprehensive understanding, maybe through Parliament and any other investigatory organization, authority, Honorable Speaker, that the Parliament sets up an ad hoc committee, the way my colleague has said, to look at what is happening in fires across the country. Honorable Speaker, listening to what is happening, quoting my place, Honorable Speaker, is that a few of my students had issues, but the principal did not bring out those issues on time, Honorable Speaker. Can we have a way of understanding?
Thank you. Maclap, death has no gender.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My very sincere condolences to the parents who lost their loving ones, and quick recovery to those students who are still having injuries. Mr. Speaker, I am one of the first members of Parliament to be in that school, together with the Minister for Education, the PS, and the Minister for Interior. Mr. Speaker, what I saw is not very good for this country. Mr. Speaker, even today, I am equally affected because one of the students comes from Barwesa, and their father is Raymond Kangogo, Chepkonga, and up to today, they don't know where their daughter is because out of the 16, 11 students have not been able to be identified. So, Mr. Speaker, I ask also the forensic people to speed up
Your time.